This week in the short story unit, we are looking at the writing process step of revision. You should be revising and editing your short stories in order to have a final finished product to submit next week. So in our direct instruction, let's take some time to look at what revision is and how we should go about revising our essays. What is revision? The absolute necessity of revision cannot be overemphasized. All good writers rethink, rearrange, and rewrite large portions of their prose. Even the best writers that you can think of, Stephen King, Stephanie Meyer, all of them take time to revise their writing. If you listen to interviews done by authors, they will often tell you that they spent hours and hours and hours on one chapter, one section of a chapter, just trying to get it right the way they want it to be. So everyone revises, and I think this is a step that oftentimes student writers don't think about as much as they should. Revision is a thinking process that occurs anytime you are working on a writing project. It means looking at your writing with a fresh eye. Revision is not finishing your essay, looking over it once for grammar and spelling errors, and putting it away. Revision is actually looking at what you're saying and how you're saying it. And are you coming across clear? Are you missing details? Is there information that you should add or delete? So it's more than just the grammar of your piece. Revision means making important decisions about the best ways to focus, organize, develop, clarify, and emphasize your ideas. Again, you're looking at the overall picture of your essay, not the minor little minute issues. You're looking at overall, am I being clear in what I'm trying to tell and say to my reader? Here's a little bit of a revision process for your drafts. Rethink. The first thing you should always do is rethink when you go to revise a piece of writing. What is its purpose? What is the thesis if it's an essay? What is its main point? Or what are you trying to convey to your reader? And who is your reader? Really, what you write and who your attendant audience really need to go together. So you need to rethink your purpose, your thesis, and your audience. The second thing you need to do is you need to rethink your ideas and your evidence. Does what you're putting on paper make sense? Is it fresh? Is it new? Is it a different perspective? Do you back up your ideas? Do you provide enough detail? Third, you need to rethink your organization. If you're writing an essay, is it a cause and effect? Is it compare and contrast? Is it sequential? When you're writing a short story, do you use flashback? Do you use flash forward? Is there foreshadowing? Or is it a sequential story? So think about how you've organized your ideas and make sure that makes sense. Fourth, you need to rethink your clarity and your style. Do you keep a consistent tone throughout your entire piece, or do you go from very simple writing to very complex writing and skip around a lot? Are you being precise in your word choice, or are you using a lot of what I refer to as dead words like good and stuff and things, when obviously there is much more descriptive language that you could use that would get your point across a lot quicker and a lot better? The fifth step of the revision process is editing, and I can tell you right now that most students skip 1 through 4, go right to number 5, and that's all they care about when they get to revision. Finally, after you've rethought your purpose, your thesis, your audience, ideas and evidence, your organization, your clarity and style, then it's time to go back and look at your grammar, your punctuation, and spelling. That's really the final step in the revision process. And so many people, including college students and even some adults, feel that revision is simply proofreading and editing. And it's not. You have to look at your whole essay or story and think about how you can improve upon what you did the first time around. And last, you go back and you proofread the whole thing so that you make sure that you have a complete, cohesive story that makes sense. When you revise for purpose, thesis, and audience, To be effective, you need to be clear. You need to have a clear sense of purpose and audience. Your essays must present a main idea or thesis designed to fulfill that purpose and to inform your audience. So you need to be focused from the beginning as to what your purpose for writing is. Some questions you should ask yourself: have I fulfilled the objectives of my assignment? Obviously, when you're being given an assignment by a teacher, you want to make sure that you're meeting all of the requirements. Do I understand the purpose of my essay? Does it make sense to me? Because I wrote it. If it doesn't make sense to you, it's not going to make sense to your teacher or to anyone else. Have I addressed both my purpose and my reader's needs by selecting appropriate strategies of development for my essay? So, have you developed the thoughts enough so that your purpose for writing and meeting your reader's needs? So revising for ideas and evidence. You want your readers to accept your thesis or your purpose for writing. To achieve this goal, you must offer body paragraphs whose major points clearly support the main idea. Everything in your short story needs to support your main purpose for writing it, your main theme, your main objective. Without that, your readers are going to be very confused. Some questions you should ask yourself: does each major point in my essay or story further my reader's understanding and their acceptance of my purpose? Have I included all the major points necessary to the reader's understanding of my subject, or have I omitted pertinent ones? And this one specifically tends to be a problem in short stories. In your mind, it makes sense because you're filling in the blanks that aren't filled in on the paper. So it's sometimes very important to have someone else take a look at your writing. Are my major points located and stated clearly in the specific language so that readers can easily see what position I am taking in each part of my discussion? Revising for organization. It is important to make changes in the order and organization of your ideas in your draft. The arrangement of your ideas will help clarify your essay's meaning. This is, again, when it's an essay, it's extremely important that you make sure that you have your ideas properly organized with supporting details. In a short story, it's just as important because your reader needs to know what comes first, what comes next, the order of events, in order to keep them from becoming lost and confused. Some questions you can ask yourself: am I satisfied with the organizational strategy I selected? Are my major points ordered in a logical, easy to follow pattern? Are parts of my essay out of proportion? And what's this thing is you have one paragraph that is really long. Does it take you 5 pages to describe your setting and then a page to resolve your conflict? Well, that would be a very out of balance story. So you want to make sure that you're spending the most amount of time developing your conflict and resolving it, and the least amount of time introducing your characters and wrapping everything up. Does my conclusion end my discussion thoughtfully, emphatically, or memorably? You want an ending to your story that's going to leave your reader thinking, wow, that was great. Some things for revising for clarity and style. Clarity and style means focusing on sentences and word choice that will ensure your reader's complete understanding of your thinking. More on this later. Don't be afraid to restructure your drafts. This is one of the biggest things I hear students say is, but I did my best writing the first time. No, you didn't. None of us do our best writing the first time because we're so concerned with getting the thoughts out of our head onto our paper. So don't be afraid to take your essay apart or your short story apart, add things, delete things, move things around. Completely restructuring it is absolutely acceptable and sometimes very necessary. Some questions: is each of my sentences as clear and as precise as it could be for readers who do not know what I know? Are there any sentences that are unnecessarily wordy? Those types of sentences often lose your reader. Do any sentences run on for too long to be fully understood? Can any repetitive or choppy sentences be combined? Can I clarify by adding showing details and by replacing bland, vague words with vivid, specific ones? Can I replace cliches and trite expressions with fresh, original phrases? Is my voice authentic? Again, this goes back to making sure that someone else can understand what you have written and that your writing is consistent. Editing for errors. Here's some hints for effective writing. I know that many of you have edited your papers in the past, you turned them in, and then I'm sure when you got them back there was more red than you were expecting. And it's because you automatically fill in things that are missing or correct things that are wrong. First, you should read it aloud. You will catch more mistakes than you ever have before if you read your work aloud. Second, you should know your enemies. Know the errors you make. If you constantly mix up than and then, or your theirs, check for those. Make sure you spend a lot of time looking for the errors you know you make. Read backwards. It sounds strange, but start at the end of your essay and read it from the end to the beginning. You're more likely to find places where you have used grammatical errors. Learn some tricks. There are lots of tricks to making sure you have the right word. Like then says that something happened after, where than is a comparison. So again, this goes back to knowing your enemies and knowing the tricks for spotting those errors. Eliminate your common irritants. So things that are commonly annoying, like the word things and stuff, the word good, which is not descriptive. Get rid of those, replace them right off the bat. And use your tools. Obviously, you have family, friends, spell check, grammar check. Use those things to your advantage, but use them with a brain. Spell check is great if you have misspelled words, but it's not going to tell you that you need to use THEIR where you have THERE because they're both spelled correctly. Proofreading. Proofread your drafts several times, putting as much time between the last two readings as possible. It takes approximately 48 hours for your brain to forget what you've written and not fill in the errors. Your brain, you will think that what you wrote is correct if you proofread your paper too close together. So make sure that you leave some time at the end of an assignment to be able to look over your paper a couple times. Make sure your paper looks professional before you turn it in. I do ask that all final copies of your papers to be graded be turned in as Microsoft Word attachments or in some other type of word processing software. I don't want them copied and pasted into the submission box. I want them to look like they're professionally submitted drafts. They should have a title. They should have your name, date, the class on them. All of those things that make me know from the beginning that you have spent time and effort on this work. And because remember, appearance is just as important for your work as it is for yourself. And last, check to be sure you formatted your paper exactly as your assignment was requested. And that's what I just reviewed, making sure you turn it in as a Word document. Use the final checklist. For this week, please make sure that you're taking some time to revise your short stories. They are a significant portion of your grade. There is a short quiz that I believe it's 12 questions that accompanies this video. It asks you to look at various paragraphs and offer some revision. It is multiple choice and there are correct answers, so please make sure that you take your time and work on that and look closely at the choices. As always, if you have any questions about this video, the information in it, or any of your assignments for this week, please let me know, and have a good week.